Okay, we are getting into some pretty interesting fantasy hockey booking, people. Because today we are talking about Pittsburgh Penguins legend and a potential free agent in this year's class. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Evgeni Malkin and whether or not he could join the Detroit Red Wings. Now, this is definitely going to require some explaining. So let's get into the context here. Malkin is 39 years old. Ay, that's kind of difficult to hear about, honestly. We're getting old, people. It's the natural movement of time. But Malkin is 39, 6'5", 209, a left-handed center, and he is signed on till the end of this season, making $6.1 million a year. It's kind of crazy that the contract is already expiring, considering the big deal it was back when it was signed a few years ago. But Malkin went from making $8.7 million a year like his buddy Sidney Crosby to making $9.5 for the span of 8 years, and then inevitably settling down at $6.1 million. I would say that with $146 million in total career earnings for Evgeni Malkin, he probably isn't too worried about the dough. However, what he could be worried about is A, his long-term health, because I don't know if y'all realized, but playing hockey takes a toll on your body, and also the ability to potentially win one more time. Malkin has 3 Stanley Cups, he has a Calder, he has a Hart, he has 2 Art Rosses, he has a Ted Lindsay, he has a Conn Smythe. He's been very decorated throughout the course of his NHL career. And even last season, he had 61 points in 56 games. Nice to see Gino go out there with an over-point-per-game season, his first one since scoring 83 points in 82 games in 2023. Malkin's a beast, and even if he is 39 years old, there's no question that this is a player that can provide value for many NHL teams should they take a run at him and should they actually sign him. Which is why I wanted to leave links in the description to 2 articles. First, here's a Detroit Hockey Now piece from Kevin Allen from earlier 2 weeks ago. Malkin should be on the Detroit Red Wings wish list. This is Detroit Hockey News Plus, so you need the subscription in order to read past the first few paragraphs. Kevin Allen writes here, the consensus is that the Red Wings, with plenty of cap space to use, will find nobody available in the UFA marketplace. But Evgeni Malkin isn't nobody. Malkin can be a UFA this summer. He wants to stay with the Penguins, but the Penguins are trying to rebuild, and it's far from a certainty they will re-sign him. The big Russian turns 40 in July. Pittsburgh fans want him back, but the NHL hasn't yet signed off on the franchise's new ownership group. We don't know how the newcomers feel about retaining team stars. There then is a bigger, more extended write-up on Malkin and the Red Wings, so you could subscribe to Sportsnet Plus in order to get that. And I also wanted to leave a link in the description to this article, posted onto octopusthrower.com, aka the Detroit Red Wings version of Fansided. They tweeted out this to promote their article last week as well. Evgeni Malkin said his favorite team growing up was the Red Wings. Malkin, coincidentally, is also an upcoming UFA. Here's why the Red Wings should take a run at Malkin. And you're seeing all the replies over here, man. A lot of people saw this article. A lot of people wanted to give their opinions. Let's go over what Jacob Rivard writes about on Octopus Thrower, describing why the Wings should take a run at this Penguins legend. The article opens up by talking about the old foe-to-friend angle that we have seen with some players over the years. Chelios to Dominik Hasek, the Red Wings have played host to countless legendary players that once faced off against them. Most recently, they turned Patrick Kane from foe to friend. What if there was a way to turn another long-term enemy into a valuable ally? In his end-of-season press conference, Penguins legend Evgeni Malkin made it clear, should the Penguins not sign him, he would absolutely sign with another team. Yes, Malkin said, I want to play in the NHL for sure, but I know it's not easy for Kyle Dubas. Maybe he wants new blood here. I understand it's a business. I understand if he wants maybe a new team, to see some new faces here. For me, I want to play one more year in the NHL. I'm not looking to go back to the KHL and play in Russia. But if not Pittsburgh, I hope it's some NHL team. Look, man, Evgeni Malkin had 61 points in 56 games played this year. He started out the year super hot. He was half a point a game in the first round against Philly. He'll get a job in the NHL this season. It's going to happen. The article then talks about how the Penguins and Malkin may end up parting ways, and then they talk about how Malkin can help the Wings. Don't let Malkin's age deceive you, he's still got it. This year, Malkin turned back the clock and produced a decent amount of points. He is an extremely effective center, bolstering the production of every linemate he has ever had in his career. The thought of the Russian legends centering DeBrincat and Kane should make any fan salivate. If that isn't enough, he's already got connections in Detroit. Like most Russian children in the late 80s and 90s, Malkin was a Red Wings fan. He always said it was his dream to play for Detroit. With 3 Cups, 2 Art Rosses, a Conn Smythe, a Hart, and a Lindsay, Malkin has proven everything he can at the NHL level. He is a bona fide legend. How poetic would it be for him to end his career with the very team he dreamt about playing for as a kid? All in all, the Red Wings need help at center. While Malkin isn't a long-term solution, he should serve as the perfect bridge while the Wings work out the big picture. Now, that's a really interesting element that I think not a lot of people talk about. The linked source here that describes Evgeni Malkin being a Red Wings fan comes from an Our Hockey post made 5 years ago, where Evgeni Malkin had this essay where he said that the Red Wings were his favorite team. Honestly, it checks out. Back in the 80s and the 90s, the USSR Soviet squad was so good with names like Fetisov, Kasatonov, Krutov, Makarov, Larionov. They were awesome. And then inevitably, these guys made themselves over to the NHL, and a lot of these legendary Russian talents found themselves in Detroit. So a lot of Russian children growing up watching the Red Wings. That's not all too surprising. But Evgeni Malkin, if he decides to go full circle, could you imagine the idea of having a hockey team that has Malkin with DeBrincat and Kane on one line? I mean, just thinking about the list of names the Red Wings have donned in their jersey over the years, you can say that Detroit can be seen as a second New York. You know how all these legends go to New York to inevitably retire? Jonathan Quick, I'd say, is the most recent one, on a list that includes names like Marcus Naslin, Wayne Gretzky, etc., etc. Detroit could slowly start building up that reputation for themselves too, if Patrick Kane decides to retire in Motown, and if Evgeni Malkin decides to do so as well. But with all that said, I'll leave a link in the description to the article on Detroit Hockey Now if you want to go out there and read this from Kevin Allen. Also, if you wanted to go out there and read the Octopus Thrower piece by Jacob Rivard. It's all going to be there in the description. And also, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section. How do you feel about the idea of Evgeni Malkin going over to Detroit as a free agent? Obviously, if the guy re-signs today, then this video isn't really useful anymore. But still, I thought it was interesting to go out there and talk about. So let me know in the comments all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.